Doo-doo, chick-doo-doo. That's the angle.
Ooh, what?
Doo-doo. That's the podcast.
How you feeling?
I feel good.
Yeah, me too. It's always nice doing like interview into the next interview because like you feel like I'm in the mood to talk.
warmed up.
I'm warmed up. I hope you were talking to a friend before this because your boy's ready.
I was not.
Yeah. Well, so what's up, guys? Welcome back to That's the Angle, and I am joined with Marta Staudinger.
Oh, you said it right.
I said it right?
Yeah.
Nice.
Kudos.
What do people normally call you, Martha?
Oh, I get the Martha, I get a Marta, and then the last name I kind of get anything in this world.
Yeah, it all works. I'm
Yeah,
notorious
it's
for messing up people's names live, so glad I got one right.
Yeah.
So you were a guest I've definitely had on my mind to ask to come on the show for quite some time.
Really?
I swear to God. Just because like you and Latella and everything you're doing there. But like, I feel like what you do seems so... like it seems like a dream job in a weird way. Like you're a curator, gallery owner, artist. Like it seems like you're making it up. Like in just the whole like fine art world. It's like even within that world, which I'm in, there's another world like that you're in that seems so like out of reach and unobtainable.
Oh my God.
Like the whole curator and like connecting to people who actually want to buy art.
Yeah.
Like is the crazy art buying world like a crazy society where you like did like a blood pact or something? Like what's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know what that world is.
Yeah?
Still.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so funny. I apprenticed with this guy in Italy years ago, and he's just changed his whole painting palette and art thing into this really dramatic thing. Yesterday, actually, that was a post about last 2 decades I painted and now I'm done type of thing. And like, he's just starting his stuff over, and he has all of these works with a friend in somewhere in the States. And he's cut off every gallery they've been just selling his work at 50,000 pounds left and right, and he gets 50% of it. And I
Wow.
mean, he's doing so well. And he was like, yeah, so I've got these extra like 20 works in the States. If you want to just sell them, it's something I'm doing quickly though. So figure it out. And I'm like, I don't know how to figure that out. Like, what are you
What?
talking about?
And this
Like,
is recent?
it was yesterday. And I'm like I just like snap my fingers and find somebody who's going to spend $50,000. Like it doesn't work.
Is that the price point one of these is going for?
Yeah, all of his works are about that price point.
And he gave you how many? Like just like a bunch of them?
Well, he didn't give them to me. I think they're somewhere else, but he gave me an inventory, a catalog of them. And he was like, "Hey, can you like help me sell these?" And I'm like,
And you
I don't know how that world exists.
Really?
You know?
But you sell artwork and connect people all the time.
I do, but usually those are relationships that build over time, or I'm proposing something very specific either for an exhibition or for like a corporate client. And so it's a little bit more mission based rather than just finding someone with money. And I know that art world exists, but I'm not in the blue chip art world.
That's a good
where
way
I
to put
just
it.
know all of these people who are going to drop $50,000 at the, like, I don't know those people. I don't know how that works.
It's like, who are those people?
I
Like,
don't
what kind
know.
of friends are you making where it's just like,
I don't
"Hey, I
know.
got this artist.
Come by my art. I don't know. I don't know who they are.
So where do you think you're going to start with that?
I actually had a new client come through that I wasn't anticipating that could maybe buy 2, but I think that if I get that done, then that would be a huge pat on the back, but I'm not holding my breath.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I might do a little intro to the Italian embassy to see if they want to collect him, but I don't know the people who would buy that.
Yeah, like I can't. It just the people in that bracket, let alone know them. It's like most people don't know someone who's spent $1,000 on art.
Yeah, and they're definitely like different ripples, right? And so I have been moving up in my ripples, but I'm not there.
But you're doing it, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you're even selling things for a good amount of money, like that in itself just seems so unapproachable for the normal person. Like it seems so mysterious.
Yeah, and that took a really long time.
Did it?
To get to? Yeah. And I always had faith that it would happen if I did the right groundwork for Latella and created a brand and a brand that was strong enough that these high paying developers would want to seek out. But there were times that I thought, is this really the right way to do it? Because they're not coming in yet. And I know that it takes time, but it feels really good to be here now because that wasn't always the case.
How old is Latella?
5 years now.
Wow, 5 years. That's a legit amount of time. It's half a decade.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
most people give up after a year or two, but you're 5 years in.
5 years in.
You're not throwing that away. Like,
No. At this point, that's my child walking around out there.
so what is Latella and like what does it do? What is the mission of it? Besides sell really expensive art.
Yeah.
Unless that's the mission.
And
Then
we don't sell very expensive art. I mean, we have, I think, probably works on paper for $250. I mean, there's a good amount
super
that's
approachable.
under 500. But then depending on the client, I mean, so Latella is a few different things now, and it's kind of become this new monster every 6 months that I reformat and shed some skin. It is a brand that is an art consultancy brand. So I want to be working with local artists to try to place their work, curate really interesting narratives in exhibitions, and keep expanding that. And so I don't want it to be connected to any specific space. So for a long time we were known as a gallery, but I see that so much more as my office because I think that, especially now 5 years in, those curatorial projects need to be outside of the limitation of that small space and in larger spaces, or maybe not even in DC or in a client's home or in a client's office building, for example. So, but with that, there is a spirit element that's really important to me because I think a lot of people who deal in the arts are not very trustworthy.
interesting. What makes you say that?
For artists and for buyers, I think that there's a stigma about going into these bigger blue chip collar galleries. Of, they don't talk to you when you walk in, or, if you don't look like you can buy anything, then you're not welcome there. Or on the dealing side, artists never really know how much something was actually sold for, so they don't always know the full cut. And like, those are just stories and speculations. But I wanted to be, if I was coming out with a brand of an art consultancy, very transparent. And also, you have to build from the ground up. I didn't come from a family with money or connections in the art world or, anything to kind of have, jump into different level of society where I just knew people who had $50,000.
Yeah.
And I say, oh, well, let me I have these creative friends. Why don't you just buy their stuff? So I started with local artists. And so the work we had was only $200 to $500. And then it was like, okay, let's keep expanding the value of the artists that we work with and the value of the gallery and the value of the brand over time. And so it's something that's kind of grown with the local creative economy. And so because of that, I noticed that a lot of artists, and I think for many reasons, Instagram, DC being a particularly marginalized city when it comes to creativity, but they were like really starving. Like really desperate and not aligned with themselves, with what their vision was, with patience, with just everything that is the internal work that I truly believe one needs to really set the right intentions to know what you're manifesting. And art is so much of personal manifestation. So if you don't really know like what you're throwing around. And so I figured that spirit needed to be two-sided, how we work with clients, but also how we work with artists. And I think that's what's really separated us from other art conconsultancies.
So it's not just like sell expensive stuff and do that. It's a lot rooted in let's help like my local people. Let's help these artists find themselves and find their voice and to establish them so they can figure out what their path is or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, we don't represent artists, so we're not helping them. We're not incubating them in a way where I am buying them out or expecting some kind of a representation of them and continuous exchange for my investment in them. It's something more project based. So every time we've had an exhibition that's a solo exhibition, there's so much incubation behind the scene to make sure that collaboration is worthwhile on multiple fronts for that artist, that they're using Latella and they're using me and our audience and our space and our resources to really create a project that can catapult them as far as possible. So there's a lot of that. But then individually we do regular meditations on the moon that artists are welcome to, and a lot of artists come to that, but community at large comes to that.
That is very spiritual. Meditation on the moon?
Every new and full moon. Ever since Latella opened, we have opened up the doors for a group to come and meditate and just journal and align. And that's a practice that I personally have, and just figured I'd make space for artists to do that, and also for a community that maybe would not be our like audience, but interested to learn about the arts, to kind of ease their way in. And that's something that a lot of artists come to.
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find just like looking at your Instagram, you are a very spiritual person.
I am.
Like, and I'm one of those people who appreciates it, but I don't get it, but I appreciate it. And I find the spirituality here and there.
Yeah.
But for people like yourself, I'm just like, damn, she's woke. I don't get it. Like what is she smoking? I got no idea. But I think a lot of that does play into being an artist. Like you have to be in touch with yourself and how you're feeling. And I guess there is some spirituality rooted there to express yourself onto a canvas or whatever that medium might be.
Right. And I think a lot of people deter from the idea of spirituality as connected to religion. And I think that it's more of a consciousness, and every artist has it. If there's that moment to, and it usually comes from like your gut, where you need to be creating some type of project or following some type of passion, that kind of meets with this self-criticism or analysis on how to keep shedding skin and doing it better. And that's the same thing that I feel, that's the parallel to anybody who's just constantly working on themselves, constantly trying to grow and improve and, lead with compassion and, get to know themselves better. I mean, that's really all it is.
I mean, that is what art is. It's like your thoughts manifested, like it's ideas into reality. That's the crazy part about it all. It's like you're just turning these things into real things.
Yeah. And then and on a business side, it's how can you communicate that effectively enough and academically enough to make an audience who doesn't know who you are and potentially shouldn't care who you are actually care, right?
And that's the hard part for artists. And
it's really hard.
That even I've noticed is that it's how do you be taken seriously? How do you get someone like you to not represent, but how do you get someone like you to consider them and to say, hey, let me help you out? Because I feel like I know so many artists and meet so many artists who they're like half foot in, half foot out maybe, or they just don't know their voice. But like, is there a specific thing like you look for when it comes to artists that you might work with? Or
I feel like when I didn't have my voice yet, I saw a lot of interviews that asked that question. I was like, yeah, tell me, what's that that ingredient? How can they work with me? I don't know. It's this like
deja vu moment.
Yeah, because I feel like I'm on the other side now, which is kind of cool. But there's, I really look for, I need to see a meaning in their work. So they need to already be able to tell me what it's about, even if I can help them refine that communication, that message. They don't need to have it fully pitched, but they need to know enough of what their work is about for me to be able to do my job.
Yeah.
And I can tell you more about what deters me than,
let's go with that.
What really deters me is an artist who kind of presses me out like I'm working for them. And I get approached like that so much. That's kind of like, hey, you have this thing that you've built and I'm not going to really recognize or appreciate anything that you might have gone through to do that. I just want some of it for myself. And I get that energy like full throttle
I see
a
what you're
lot. And
saying.
it's just like, no, you already came very incorrectly. Because, you know, I think that artists, again, I think that they're so hungry in this city, which I have so much compassion for. And I was very hungry when I started Latella. I was like, who can I bombard? So I get it. But I think that you have to get through that phase and put your head down and actually do the work to create quality.
Why do you think artists are so hungry in the city? Would you like a tissue or something, by the way?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's so cold out.
Well, it's also cold on here. Hold it. Give me 1 second. Talk to the people. Don't leave it dead air.
Oh, okay. Don't leave it dead air. Okay. Well, I'm in and the first thing that I said when I came in was how dope this space is, because Amir, the guy who's the mastermind behind Homme, actually had a space in the Anacostia Arts Center, and I curated my second show for Latella ever there, actually.
I missed it. What'd you say?
I don't think I told you this part. I curated the second show I ever did for Latella in
In this place?
in the Anacostia Arts Center.
Oh, in the Anacostia? Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Super full circle.
Okay, so what, like we were saying before the sniffles, it's like you create this thing that's essentially like your baby, your child, the Latella Art Gallery. It's an extension of you, and for someone to come in and to not treat you like a human with this thing you create and just be like, hey, how can you help me sell this painting for thousands of dollars? It's like, I could see how you'd feel disrespected because you're like, how about we connect first and then talk about this business relationship?
Let us connect, organically. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you need to come to every exhibition opening and smother me either. It could just be a very thoughtful email, but I think that that is something that definitely turns me off, because I came into this to work for myself. Mm-hmm. And so I love being a team player, but if I sense that my energy is going to be taken for granted from the beginning, then I'm not going to engage, because I know that I have a lot to bring to the table, and just not going to do all that work.
I mean,
it's a 50-50 partnership.
Yeah, I mean, you could launch someone's career if you really felt like fucking around and making them someone,
and I would love to do that. I mean, I like... I've been having a lot of moments lately where I see so many artists I've worked with doing so many cool things now, and it gives me validation now that there's been enough time passed. And I don't think that I've done anything. I think I was just a tiny, notch on a belt for each of these people that I'm thinking about. Mm-hmm. But it's cool to feel like you've played a role and a positive, constructive development role in somebody's career out here when there's no real way to navigate, right?
Yeah, there is no path. It's not like get a degree and do this. It's like, what do you do?
Right. So yeah, it's a cool time for me. I don't know.
Well, it has to be, because it's like now the 5 years of work, now it's manifesting into all these beautiful things, into the artists that you helped in the first, second year, or maybe even before that. You see them rocking out and flourishing in their own self. But what was it like? Like, why did you start it? Like, what made you want to kind of be because you were an artist, I guess, before it all. Mm-hmm. What made you want to start the gallery as a space, as a curation, or whatever it does now? Like, what?
Yeah. I think there were a few things that happened that really pushed me over the edge.
Yeah, like what?
Well, I was working at the National Gallery of Art. Mm-hmm. My background is in museum work, archiving and curating and collections management, provenance, etc. And I had my own personal art practice. And I felt like, well, honestly, I looked at how the job, I think I applied to maybe 4 curatorial position jobs. I was working in the archives, really cool position in the archives, but I knew that if I was there too long, that I wouldn't look like a curator on paper, even though my master's was in curatorial studies.
Oh, wow. I think that was a thing.
Yeah. And so I was really starting to get that like type A itch of, if I'm here too long and I don't get into a curatorial position, will I ever get into a curatorial position? And I was realizing, and the departments were so separate as in most large institutions. And I was realizing that it would have been better to volunteer in the right department and move up that way than try to do a lateral, archive, which is a separate skill set. There's a separate master's also for archival science to this thing that was actually what I wanted to do. And so the practical reason behind it was, if I stay here, I don't think I'm going to have an easy time growing into the career that I think I would like. And I don't even really know if I want to be an institutional curator. I just know that I want to storytell and add creativity somehow to my day to day. And the second thing is I was also teaching yoga regularly.
Oh, now it all makes sense.
Yeah. And I felt very strongly that as I was understanding my professional alignment, I had this self-alignment that was propelling. And so I felt that there were tools from that world that were helping me see that now was the time to kind of figure out my own project, and that all I had to lose was, the idea really was, we'll build your curatorial palette and portfolio, and then you can always re-enter into the workforce with a few years of curating on your back.
True.
And so that was really my only motivation, is I couldn't find the job I wanted. So I thought, well, I might as well create it.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's like you didn't have the technical degree for it. So it's like you had no choice but to sort of, let's do it myself. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. And I also saw at that time, there was one curatorial position that opened in the National Gallery, and I think all 5 of us that were overqualified all applied at the same time. And I was like, a job like this might come around again in 10 years.
Oh,
and
it's so, like people don't leave these positions for long periods of time.
Yeah, and I know that's not the only institution here in D.C. And I was looking at jobs in Chicago or New York, but I really wanted to be here in D.C. And so I thought, okay, I'm not feeling confident that I'm going to build the career that I want to.
Oh. So what did you do? You just like, fuck it, and you quit one day and you started it? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I kind of had a plan. I think I had like a 6-month plan. And now when I meet people and they say, yeah, I think I'm going to do this, but I'm going to give myself a year, I go, yeah, that would have been a great idea. But I'm like, once I have my mind made up, I jump. So
do you think that if you said I would have give myself a year, then I'll go back to like a normal job, do you think a year would have been enough time?
No.
Yeah.
No. I think after a year, I definitely wasn't making the money I wanted to make. And I did apply to some jobs actually. And I kind of felt like a failure for a second. And I knew that it wouldn't help me applying to those jobs because I had to prove that I'd actually built something worth of value. Because even if I wanted to go back into the institutional world, I felt that I needed to come out with a practical knowledge that maybe the institution wouldn't have, but potentially need in the future. So I knew that I needed to at least hit 5 or 6 years before seriously entering. And now I don't, at least for right now, I don't think I'm going to. But
like you went and got like a waiter job?
I worked. Okay. So, one thing that it opened up a possibility for me to do is I lecture for Smithsonian. They do trips all around the world. And since I have,
that's
exactly,
cool.
it's super cool.
That is cool.
Because I have lived in Italy and Spain for quite some time and my art history background is in those art history worlds. I lecture for them in Italy and Spain a few times a year. And that was something that was an opportunity that arose to me when I was working at the NGA that I couldn't take because I couldn't take that much leave. And so I knew that that could support me somewhat and that I'd be able to do that. And that was something that was calling to me. So I always balanced the Smithsonian lecturing gig, which is only a few times a year. I mean, it's not enough income to live off of, but
at that point, it's better than nothing. And
it allowed me to travel. And also I think that it allowed me to detach from this thing that I was building so that I wasn't like super unhealthily in it, you know. I had another responsibility that I had to switch my brain off for and my incubator brain off for. But yeah, I worked a waitressing job. I worked every Friday night at Elizabeth's Gone Raw, which is I picked it because it's only open on Fridays.
It sounds like a strip club. What is that?
It's a vegan 5-course meal restaurant.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was I love the people there, and it was nice to be able to just do something every Friday night and not, I could kind of segment my life. And I worked as a temp for an agency, and they were so sweet. When I interviewed with them, I said, "Hi, I want to do something." They wanted your resume and your references and all of these things, and I was like, "Yeah, I want all of the jobs where I just sit and answer a phone because I'm building my business." And
You're so honest.
But it worked great. I mean, they'd put me in I remember once for a week I had to sit for the receptionist in a real estate development office in City Center.
Oh, God.
And I built a Latella website that whole week.
It's so much free time. You're like, this is chill. I'm getting paid to sit and build my website.
It was awesome. And then I had all of these meetings that just happened to be right in Chinatown. I was like, okay, I could do this. I mean, but then it got to a point where I actually needed to dedicate more time to Latella, but I'd say the first year and a half.
It says so much about you, though, and just the grit, which is something that most people can't handle, which is why entrepreneurship is not for most people. It's like you were at a job that most people probably dream about, like the Smithsonian gig. That's a big deal, and the fact that you left that to start your own thing, and then and you have, it sounds like you have a master's or something like that.
I do.
It's like you're a waitress with a master's trying to build something. It's like most people wouldn't be able to stomach that or to endure that for a year or 2 years or for whatever it might be. It's like you have to humble yourself in this weird way that just, it sucks so bad because you're worried. What's my family going to think? What are my friends going to think? All these weird pressures that we shouldn't be worried about, but we are.
Oh my God. And it, I'm so thankful for it now, but at the time there were definitely times where I wondered, am I making the right choice? Because all of my friends at that time were getting married and they were in these jobs where they had very fancy retirement plans and not to mention healthcare. And here I am, I'm giving all of that up. And they're all like, you're fucking crazy. What are you building? And especially in the arts, it's like, well, what tangible is coming out of this? What's your business plan? It's like, I don't know. I need to build my portfolio. It's not a business plan. It's a portfolio, right? It's very different. And I think that that's why when I meet an artist who just willy-nilly wants something, I'm like, you've got a long road ahead of you of work, because it is work. And to think that it's anything different from that, I think in the creative field, it's actually more work.
It is.
Than other trajectories. And so you have to have that skin.
Yeah, I think people confuse the fact that they might think artists are lazy, but it's quite the opposite. They work longer than 9 to 5 hours. From the 9 to 5 life. You work when you wake up, working at bed, and it's a constant grind because even now these days, you can't just be a painter. You have to be a brand on Instagram. You have to do consulting and graphic design, and you have to do all these other side things. And being an actual painter might be 20% of what you actually do.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so funny. I said to my roommate yesterday, I woke up and I was like, who am I going to play today? Artist or admin? I didn't even know I was saying that out loud. And she was just like, holy fuck, is that not the, just the theme for any creative entrepreneur? It's like, is today a day I'm going to create versus manage all of my creations and photograph them and get them online and create content and there's so much bullshit. You're, and I think about the departments that, for example, the National Gallery was the archives and the curatorial and the development and the special events. And I'm like, holy shit, I literally wear every single hat.
Yeah, you do all their jobs.
Yeah. On a much smaller scale.
Yeah,
but,
much smaller scale.
But, you're exercising all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And
all the business stuff, the weird tax shit. Like, oh, God. It's
don't even. I've got to trace down like 10 W-9s. And I'm like, I've got a week.
Yeah.
A week to do it.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that. But there's so much more to being a professional artist or being a professional in the creative industry that just people don't get. That I think it's like it's like you give so much more props to people who actually are doing it. But like when you were working in the early days of creating this thing, it's like, what were some of like the first initial breaks or like things that started happening when you were like, oh, I think this is actually going to work?
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
Like were there certain moments you're like, oh, wow, like I am doing something here. Like I'm not wasting my time. Like
there were. I remember the first time that I think it was about the third time that our moon meditation was at capacity.
Mm-hmm. Whoa.
I thought, okay, this is something that's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because we held space for that. And I say we, Sierra and I, who is a Reiki practitioner who found me and uses our space. I don't really like to say gallery anymore, but Latella's space for some of her trainings and stuff as well.
Oh, wow.
So we've been aligned in that. We every new and full moon would put something up and offer the space. And I think for like 8 months, no one came.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, I'm sticking to this because this is my practice and I might as well do it here in this space because I breathe this, and if people want to come, they can come, and if they don't, that's fine. I'm going to do it anyway. And all of a sudden, 2 people came, and then 2 weeks later, 5 people came. And when we got to a point where 3 times in a row we were at capacity, which for us is like 10 people, but still, I was like, okay, something's happening there. I remember that. And I remember when I started selling work at exhibitions. I think that for the first year, I would sell like a piece here and a piece there. But when I had a show where like half of the work sold, I was like, oh,
whoa, that's a big deal.
Am I getting good at this? Or is it like the name, or did I just pick the right artist? You know, and I kind of would go back and go, what went right?
Yeah. Why was that so successful? What happened?
I think that I started to know my audience. And I knew that I could present, and I think some of it was building the brand. And so at that time, a lot of people who maybe had enough income to invest like $500 to $1,500 in art, and maybe as like their one big piece above their couch.
Yeah.
I think that the brand was cool enough that they were like, let's go check out this space.
Ah, like it seemed legit. Like they're like, okay, I trust them with my money and to say I got art from them.
Yeah. And like all of that kind of happened right around the same time. So like a lot of those people as one-offs were coming pretty much all at once. And I was like, oh, okay. So there is something with staying consistent and standing firm. And I think also that transparency, that they feel that they can trust me now that they're ready to spend, and they just have no idea. And I think a lot of it is people don't trust their own taste. And so they're like, okay, now I can go to this place and to this person and to this brand who I like everything they've put up, but I don't know if that fits best for me, and that they would give me a really good opinion.
That's interesting. It's like, yeah, people have to believe in not just a brand, but like you, and then your opinion your resume is ridiculous. I'm sure if they looked at it, they'd be like, oh, of course, yeah, sure, the Smithsonian. But they have to trust all of that to put their money on the line.
And themselves, you know, because I'm not going to pick one of my favorite artists. I'm going to listen to what they want. And especially if it's a couple, like, who are you? How do you live? What do you like? Also, what does your home look like? But we're not matching couches here. You know, to give some very valuable advice. So, and many times I've advised artists that I've never worked with.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. that I'm just watching and I go, hey, I'm looking at this person and we haven't really met up yet, but you should reach out to them, or I can reach out for you if you want.
Oh, like I might have like a good sell or a position or something that could help you in a sense.
Yeah, like no, when a couple comes to me and they want something and I can say, hey, I've never worked with this artist. I've literally never met them, but I was at Homme yesterday and loved the works up on the wall, and like you should connect with Amir and he'll put you on with the artist.
It's like you have to like build the credibility in a way. It's like you have to like build the trust of the people that your opinion matters. Is that really what it is when it comes to art curation? Is that like people trust your opinion, or or is it that you have like an actual eye for art, because it's so hard to tell, especially for someone who knows nothing?
Yeah. I think that people relate to different things. And so I think it's just making a brand that is steady and relatable, and you attract what you put out. So, I'm not going to attract any and everyone who's interested in learning about art, but I will attract, people who like my vibe and my curation. And so we would be a good fit.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mess with that. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. I mean, Latella's also in like a really cool part of town.
We are in a cool part of town.
You gotta take it. I mean, that itself is a look. Like, you guys are like right off the metro in like this crazy arts district, and it's like right there. It's like it looks so good that how do you not trust it? Like it looks so good. Like you're like, oh my god. Like,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I like the arts walk. I like our neighbors. It's really nice to be daily going to an office where I see other creatives. And I've learned so much shit. I mean, one of my neighbors, Katie from Stitch and Rivet, who creates leather and canvas handbags, isn't fully, but kind of teaching me how to sew and helped me sew a few of my canvases. And I'll just kind of go in there and be like, hey, I have an idea. You have the skill set. Can you help a sister out? But no, I've got some good neighbors, and they've become good friends. And
yeah, it's an interesting part of town. Brookland is developing. It's like an interesting developing arts district.
I think so. They have the lofts nearby too, and they have dance place. So
you couldn't convince me to live over there, but like arts wise, it's cool. And I respect that, like in that section. But it's like you're not sure that Latella is like one fraction of what you do, but you come from an artist background. Mm-hmm. Was that why you were traveling overseas and stuff? Is like studying as an artist, or were you studying as a curator, or as some sort of like, or developing your eye or something? I don't know what to really say, like what that word for that is.
I think I had a very specific mission, if practically, but I knew I had another soulful mission that I didn't really know how to articulate at the time. When I was in undergrad here I went to George Mason. I studied art history, and I had a specialization in Renaissance art. So Italian Renaissance between like the last years of the 1400s through 1500s. And so I applied to grad schools to get into Renaissance specialty master's programs. And luckily now, but heartbrokenly then, didn't get into any of them.
Oof.
And so I figured, okay, well, if I go do a year there, then how could they possibly deny me? And so that was my sole mission, to go to Italy. And I studied 3 different semesters abroad there. I was like obsessed with Italian Renaissance art. I was super obnoxious about it.
Oh, yo.
I was like a big bookworm about it. And so I moved there with the idea to get a job working in the museums. And I really dug and like hit that nail as hard as I could. And the job scenario, not so easy. But because they're just all like very close circles and have like 5 employees per museum. But I did get a position where I could pay. I paid to have insurance to be able to be there as an intern, so that if I touched any of the works of art and like messed them up, there was like insurance.
In a weird way, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
It was my only way in. So I was like, I'll do whatever. So even then I worked in bars at night to be able to work in the museums during the day.
Whoa.
And I was like, I'm going to, learn whatever I could. And that was really great because my Italian was like mediocre at best. And I got the vulgar street language at night.
Perfect.
Like the super Dantean language during the day. I ended up staying there for almost 4 years.
Wow.
And kept, instead of accepting and going to a program, deterring and like deferring a year. And I was kind of laying all my options out. And that's when I realized that, first of all, the whole time I was practicing my own art and surrounding myself with art friends. And so I think that was the soulful thing, is that I think I was looking for a creative community to allow me permission to be creative. And
in Italy.
Yeah. Well, anywhere really.
Yeah.
But I think that I had a call there that I followed. I just had this gut thing, and it was like, I need to be there. So I'm going to make up the excuse of Renaissance because that makes sense on paper.
It makes perfect sense to me. Wait, so do you know a lot about Da Vinci?
I do know about Da Vinci.
Was he gay?
I don't think so. I think he was just...
I heard he was gay.
I don't think that you can categorize a spectrum from that time.
Okay, well, I'm only saying that because my buddy Sean, SP The Plug, came on and he told me this crazy story about you. So I'm sure you know that the Da Vinci painting that recently sold for like $500 million. Mm-hmm. That painting was a commissioned piece like that Da Vinci did. But he was saying that piece he used, it was like for the Pope or something, that he used like for like the model, like who he modeled that, he used like a gay guy. And then there are stories that Da Vinci himself was gay too. And it's so funny because it's like the church and Da Vinci and the gay subject and all that. And so I'm like, wait a minute, are you telling me that Da Vinci was gay? and that our idea of what Jesus looks like is based off a gay dude? I'm like, so we have gay Jesus and no one knows it? Is this a true story, Marta?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to
because
that.
if it is, that is the most ironic thing, that people are in church praying to bearded white long-haired Jesus, but bearded white long-haired Jesus was a gay guy. The thing that they do not want you coming into church for. So.
I don't know. I cannot answer that question.
Okay. Damn it.
I wish I could. But I think that at the time they were just very curious. He was very curious about a lot of things.
Ah, okay. I just thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
About $500 million though.
I know.
500 million. That's insane. Some Saudi prince bought it.
Okay, and so talking about like that kind of art market, I have been trying to educate myself more lately on statistics such as female artists only make about 2% of that. Like when you think about art sold over time in those markets, only 2% is by women artists. So I think about things like that.
Is there a reason why art is male dominated?
Well, I think some of it is, there were some, but there weren't that many female painters back in the 1500s during Da Vinci.
True.
So, when we look at the spectrum of time, I think we have more men. And, even if you think about Monet and Manet, I mean, there's so many women in that group, but we hear about Renoir and Degas, and we hear, it's just even in the popular, I guess, like sparks of art history, you really have to dig for the woman. There's a lot out there, but I think that's reflected in the market and even to today.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like everyone was represented. It's like no one was represented but white males throughout art history in a weird way.
Throughout life, right? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many like really awesome initiatives, like especially at the Portrait Gallery too, where I know they're specifically trying to feature anyone of like a cultural heritage.
Yeah. Or we have the National Museum of Women in the Arts here in D.C., who also spews out a lot of those facts and does a phenomenal job representing women.
They do. They have some great exhibitions go through there.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Really enjoy that.
Yeah.
So you were in Italy and you were paying to work at an art gallery.
Well, no, in the museum. So I worked in 3 museums. I worked in the Bargello, which is the National Sculpture Museum. They've got a lot of Donatello, Michelangelo, and other contemporaries. I worked in the Medici Chapels, which is also where Michelangelo has a very famous sacristy with multiple projects that are all unfinished but very famous. And then I worked in Casa Martelli, and they're all, funnily enough, now under the same direction. They were separate places then, which the Martelli family was another family of bankers that were big art patrons.
Wow.
And their private home is now a house museum, and I helped them get that up and do public relations for it and tours and cool stuff.
So why did you leave Italy? Like, why did you leave all of that and not just live that dream of just living in Italy?
Yeah. I wanted to do a master's, and I knew I needed to actually find a job because my pay was in bars still.
True.
After all that time. So I wanted to actually be working in the field, and I realized after some time that I didn't really want to be a Renaissance scholar anymore. Instead, I wanted to be more practical and hands-on. And so curating really called to me. And so I looked for masters where curating would be covered. And I found one in Barcelona. So I went to Barcelona.
That sounds so nice.
Yeah. I was like, okay, I think it's time to leave.
Wow. And so then you spent some time in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Eating
I
tapas.
spent, a year and a half there.
A lot of anchovies.
Oh my God, I can't stand anchovies. Can't eat them.
One time I went to Barcelona, I remember we got like a tapas platter, and there were anchovies on there, and I ate them. They weren't bad.
They're not, I can't do anchovies.
Yeah, there was a lot of seasoning and oil on it, so it kind of helped,
Yeah. But lots of vermouth. They have cool vermouth bars in Barcelona, and man, there was such a like underground scene. There were a lot of like, this is when like VJ was first coming out, and like VJing, video DJing.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, like just lots of cool like little hubs that you'd pack, kind of like like, and have all these different things. And there was such an underground vibe. And so funny enough, I want to talk about Gestafelstein.
Oh, I love Gestafelstein.
Because when you put that up, I was like, whoa, is this a DC human who knows this guy?
Yeah, what do you want to talk about him? I can talk about anything about him.
Well, I just think it's really cool that you like him. Did you go to his concert at the Anthem?
I didn't. Sadly, I didn't. Did you?
I did.
Ooh, how was it?
It was really good. Now, he has evolved.
Really? He's not just doing the industrial house anymore? Like it's...
No. So same music, but like performance-wise, he's evolved.
He's not just DJing.
No. So, and this is like what I think is so cool when you think about like an artist in an artist brand. So he was like really big in Paris when I was like, working in bars and stuff in Florence. There was like this really cool underground art scene, and we had this really neat club where they'd have guest DJs, and he came. And so that's when everybody in Italy kind of like discovered him, I think, is when he came to this club. And then I saw him when I was in Barcelona at Sonar. Wow. Sonar is like a really big electronic music festival where a lot of VJs debuted as well. And it's like 3 days and 3 nights. And it's just throughout like 5 different arenas. And there you just like walk for miles and miles, and there are different stages and like all of this programming. And Brodinski and Gestafelstein were like a duo at the time, and they had like a separate thing at Sonar. And he used to wear this like white button up and like a blazer. And he'd like chain smoke. And
that was like
doing all this stuff.
Yeah, like this cool vibe of like in the shirt and the cigs. Like
he was like so performative, and like every time a beat dropped, like he'd just like do some really cool shit. I don't know. He was just like mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, like, he's so cool looking. Like you feel like his vibe is so cool that anything he does, it just has to be on that level.
Yeah. It's just like, is this what Paris is like? I mean, this is really cool. And like
that's like the embodiment of like a Paris underground music scene. Like in a person, you're just like, God.
Totally. Now he wears like this silicone suit.
What?
Yes. And it's like black, but like silvery at the same time and like shiny and super dorky of me, but like it kind of reminds me of like Donatello's David. I'll send you a picture later. You can make a comparison.
Whoa.
It's like this like bronze statue-y new age thing. And he goes up there and he barely moves.
Whoa.
And like what was cool was the lights, and like the lights were dramatic and kind of doing all of these movements that parallel his sound the way that he used to, but he was very silicon.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think he choose to wear that so that like from the audience perspective, when you look at him, you're kind of like, whoa, what's going on there?
I
Like,
think it's his whole new vibe. I think it's a rebrand. It's like the only photos I've seen lately, and yeah.
that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so jealous about that. I could make that show. I saw Deadmau5 there in November.
Oh, they're awesome.
That was incredible. I mean, his live setup was insane.
Yeah,
he
I'm
had this
sure.
he had this cube, and the cube spun, and like it would like tilt forward, and like literally I was sitting there, and I remember someone in the audience passed me a joint, so that helped everything. And I remember I was sitting in the center, like the best spot, and I was just sitting there like with my jaw open, just like, what the fuck am I looking at?
I
Like,
totally forgot about the cube. He did the cube when you're
Yeah.
at Sonar too, man.
Really? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
yeah, super cool, man.
I would have loved to have seen him back then, though. Like now it's like old Deadmau5. Like, I
Yeah.
would have loved to see like prime Sonar Deadmau5. That would have been a whole different experience.
Sonar, I feel like I found so many cool bands that like
Oh, that sounds so
I
fun.
still follow. Okay, so I have a huge obsession with Buraka Som Sistema. Do you know who they are?
I don't even know what you just said. Who is that?
They're a band from Lisbon, but like one of the guys is from Angola and the girl is from Brazil, and now they're all doing their own solo thing.
Whoa.
But they used to go to Sonar almost every year, and they're like this. And they came once to U Street Music Hall,
Whoa.
like years ago, probably in like 2010 or something like that. But
I believe that.
they're super cool. I can send you a link to them. And
That'd be cool. Yeah, please do. I feel like U Street is one of those venues that has amazing artists before they're amazing artists. Like before
way
you know-
before. Like
Yeah.
I've totally gone to see Brodinski there a few times. I've seen Budaka there, Machine Drum. But you know, they also do like the Mombathon, which is like from DC.
Oh yeah, Mombatone.
Is it
It's
Mombaton?
Mombatone. Wait,
Mombaton? Oh shit.
wait. I should
I've
know this.
been
I should.
saying Mombathon for years.
No, it's Mombatone.
Mombaton.
Yeah,
Fuck.
it's like
Oh.
reggaeton, but
Mombatone?
Mombatone.
Anyway, dope.
Anyways.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it
And
too.
even though like those nights are always 18 plus, and I'm like, oh God,
Oh.
do I really want to do this? And then I'm usually like, yes, I do.
Yeah, Dave Nada. He's from this area, right? Yeah.
I love that music.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
like it's a reggaeton meets like just like the swag of everything else. It's so nice.
And I'm like a reggaeton queen. Like,
Are you?
Oh, I have two beats. Either like meditative music and it's very quiet and chill, or it's reggaeton.
Wow.
And it's like super loud and vulgar and
I mean,
out
reggaeton's
there.
amazing. I love reggaeton. I remember growing up, I used to act way more Hispanic than I think I was. And I'd go to like La Mega Fest up at Merriweather Post Pavilion. And like, I can, it's like La Mega. Like just Hispanic announcers are just insane. La Mega Fest, cumbia, dun, 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 dun. Like that shit just, oh my God. And everyone would like wear their flags and like their
love
like
it.
Puerto Rico jerseys and shit. Oh my God.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Are you Hispanic or Italian?
No, I'm
What's
not.
your-
No, my father's Austrian. My mom's from here.
Yeah, because you're very fair skinned.
Yeah, no,
Blue eyes,
not
orange
either
hair.
of those. But I've been trying to figure out why Italy, and then why like not just Spain, but like Latin cultures in general. And I had a nanny growing up who was. Her husband was Italian and she was Argentinian.
Like why you're so
She's
attracted to him?
Yeah, so like maybe like I don't know. Maybe there was something when they say when you're younger and you hear languages or are integrated into culture that's like part of you or so. I don't know. But I have a lot of like Latina in my blood. I don't know where the fuck it came from.
By association. It's there by association. You spend enough time. I mean, those places are just like sexy. Like the cultures are so like smooth and suave and like so stylized. It's different than a lot of other places. Like there's like the cultures have swag built in them.
They do. And the language I just feel is so passionate. Like sometimes I feel like I can explain myself better in Italian than I can in English, just because I feel like English is so like walk aroundy sometimes.
Like, I love when languages have like specific words for a feeling.
Yeah.
Like they'll be like, it's just the feeling that you feel when your mom died, but you have to deal with something on a Saturday.
And you're like,
and it's this word. Yeah. And it's like, what the
I don't know. It's like I create these like little worlds for myself because I talk to myself in Italian.
Oh, that's your inner monologue voice?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I've always thought about that. Like, what are, if people who are like bilingual or trilingual, maybe like yourself, like what your inner voice is?
Yeah. I dream in Italian. I mean, I dream in Spanish too and in English, but I talk to myself in Italian.
So you're trilingual?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. You're way smarter than me then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my Spanish isn't like perfect. People tell me I have a weird accent.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't care. I was learning Spanish while I was doing my master's, so I kind of picked and chose what words in vocabulary served me best at the time, and that was.
I remember I took a French course in college and I used Spanish to pass most of it.
Yeah,
it was such bullshit.
Yeah, you know, I had this really cool moment in Italy. Like with Italian, I was very grammatic and I was very studious, and I was like, I'm gonna get this right, and I'm gonna perfect the Florentine like dialect and like fool people and like seem like I'm from here. I was like so into that. But I had a few Brazilian friends in Florence, and I noticed that there was like this common thing throughout all of them. And I'm not saying this is for all Brazilians, but it's definitely for every Brazilian. And I'm going to say that I'm on like 60 of them by now that I've met in Italy. And then again, I saw it in Spain.
It's a good sample size.
Yeah, I think it's a fair sample size for one person. They had this amazing freedom of attempting to speak either Spanish or Italian, but when they didn't know the word that they needed in either or how to conjugate it, they would just kind of slip Portuguese in there.
Interesting.
And like expect that you just kind of understood it was close enough.
Whoa.
And so I remember, I mean, simple things like being in restaurants and one of my best friends would like say something and I'd kind of go, well, that's incorrect. He might not have understood. Mm-hmm. And the person would say, you know, like, I'm not really understanding. And she'd kind of go and like repeat it again.
Like, oh, you get it now? I think I got it now.
And we would always laugh and kind of go, okay.
I think it's because those languages are like, they're similar in a way.
So similar. But that helped me because when I got to Spain, I was like, you know what? When I don't know the word, I'm just going to say it in Italian. And if you can't figure it out, then maybe that's your problem, not mine.
Damn.
But it's a good freedom, you know, because I think that you can, at least for me, I can become such a perfectionist.
Yeah.
That you really try. And when you're in a country that you don't know and you're like, you need help, or you just like,
yeah, it's got to be wild to have just gone to these places by yourself as like the most American looking, like you look like you're American, like you're not fooling anyone. It's like some people look at you and then you start speaking Italian or whatever it is. It must be like, what? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and you want to get it right, you know, and you can really criticize yourself on that. It was really nice to have the permission and be like, yeah, I really don't know the word I'm trying to say. So do you speak another language rather than trying to over adapt?
So when did you come back? Like when did you went from Italy and then Barcelona? Like when did you come back and why did you come back?
I came back because I was working at the Antoni Tapias Foundation, which is a really important. He's an important contemporary painter from Barcelona. He died in 2012, and I was working there. And he's also one of the painters in my genealogical tree. Like I love his work and am dedicated. But I was working in the archives there, and I was finishing my master's, which required, since it was curatorial and like contemporary art history and one. If I was just doing a master's in art history, I would have to do some kind of thesis that's a research project, right? But for us, we had to do that thesis, which was the catalog for also an exhibition we were building. So we also had to do like the promotional materials and the budget and the timeline and all the works of art and the inventory of works of art and everything else. So it's kind of like a twofold. Mm-hmm. And I was proposing my final project to be a show for the institution there. And I was working with them to get a contract to do that. Wow. And that's when the European crisis really hit all of the arts.
What's that? What's the European crisis?
This was in 2000, 2000, like end of 2012, 2013, 2012. Wow. So there at that foundation, some of the people that I worked under lost their jobs. They had to completely cut back. They had to cut back a lot of their contracts, mine included.
What was the crisis?
It was just with the economy in Europe in general.
Okay.
Yeah. And, obviously Spain.
Yeah, arts are definitely the first to be cut whenever there's an economic downturn.
Yeah. And this is when I think Spain, Portugal, and Greece were treading in last place as far as the crisis went.
Wow.
And so I thought, okay, I could stay here in Spain, but I don't think I'm going to find any work. And I knew I wasn't going to find any work. The same thing was happening in Italy. And so I happened to see this at the National Gallery here. And so I just applied and reached out and it happened. So I was like,
that's so
okay,
interesting. Whoa.
Maybe I need to do this.
Yeah. Timing. It's like sometimes timing is everything. It's like this. It's like the perfect things sometimes tend to happen in life.
I know. It was really weird. I can't remember who sent it to me, but someone sent it to me and I wasn't planning to come home. And I just was like, well, I mean, and what it was archiving a collection of, what was it? It's like a European collector who had a lot of Renaissance works. And I kind of decided I didn't want to do Renaissance anymore, but it was like a safe option. And I thought, well, I know how to do this. I'd be good at this.
Yeah.
So
perfect timing.
Just kind of followed it.
Wow. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like you're overqualified. Like you're so qualified to do what you do. I feel like I've met people who are not qualified at all, and they're trying to start a gallery or whatever it might be. Like,
well, they should.
No, you should. No, you should. But do you think you needed all of that to do what you do now? Like, do you think that was necessary? Like, do you think you?
I think for me, yeah. Okay. I mean, what I can provide is so much more than just placemaking, and I know that. And I have languages. I have actual institutional knowledge, and I know I can see from grassroots to institutional, and I can see those paths and navigate them clearly. And I have a lot of worldly experience because of that. But I don't think that makes me or Latella any better than the next person who wants to start up something. I think it's just a different vibe. And my vibe is wholeheartedly all of that combined. And I think I wanted all of those things in my toolbox for myself, too. I mean, selfishly for myself.
Yeah, it's crazy how our past experiences always coalesce into our future endeavors. Like they somehow always make sense in what you do if you're kind of following what you want to do.
They do. And I see that a lot now. Is sometimes I go, whoa, that is so fucking aligned. Like, how did I know that then?
Right.
Like, or how did I know to make that decision then? And I knew it was the right thing to do, but I didn't really know why, but I did it. And here we are. And I'm seeing that a lot lately, which is really cool.
Yeah. Like I see it even with myself, like even like this whole podcast and everything. Like I went to school for audio engineering. I had a radio show in college. I did not think about doing any of this back then. But then when the idea kind of started, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I actually know how to do all these things.
These tools.
Yeah, I have all the tools. I have the know-how, and it made it so much easier. And it's like why it sounds good. That's why it's like a decent conversation, because I've had tons of shitty interviews in college.
Like you were able to pan that out. And wait, where did you go to school?
ODU, Old Dominion University, up in Virginia Beach.
Cool.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like I know
3 hours
a
away.
lot of people who went there.
Yeah, I've never been back since I left, and I'm going to keep it that way.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to go back up to that area. It's just nothing there. Nothing there. But it was cool. It was like those things that at the time felt so right now help me in the future. Like
They're
it's just
integral, yeah.
right. Like it's so crazy how things just come full circle, and you don't see it at the time, but in hindsight, everything's 2020.
Yeah, and so that's something I encourage when I work with artists, is like journal and kind of go back and pick up all of the fossil fuels of every decision you've ever made, because there are patterns there.
Yeah.
There are very clear patterns. And I think that we make very similar decisions time and time again based on who we are.
Like
But we don't always know what that is.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah.
But you're pretty invested in helping artists find their voice, though. I saw that you even offer like classes and stuff on that.
Yeah. So that kind of came around in a weird way. Artists had a lot of questions. And so I thought, okay, at first we should make like a consultation setup, because I can't sit around all day helping people for free either.
I can't just DM you all day.
Yeah.
Come on,
Or like when I'm working 3 jobs trying to make this work, like I can't just sit around. So that became something that I built at first. And then I realized there weren't specific questions. It was the whole mind mapping that artists wanted to figure out in one consultation. That was like, I don't know if I should be applying to galleries or to grants or working with interior designers or working with developers, or should I get into murals, or should I make prints of my work, or should I and I was like, oh my God, there are so many channels.
Yeah.
And you can't just say, hey, do this, right? There's so much to unpack and so much work to be done. And so Megan and I decided to make a course and fuel in all of the practical knowledge that we knew. So we went through, she has a master's in arts administration. And we went through both of our masters, and we just picked apart all of the material that could be relevant and put it in one course.
What are some of like the most practical, like obvious tips you always give them? Like what are the biggest things they always ask you?
For fine artists, it's building a catalog. So many artists come to me and they're like, hey, why didn't you put my work, or like, how can I get my work into your next show? And I'm like, send me your catalog. And they're like, what is that?
What is that?
Yeah, it's like a PDF that has a thumbnail of, this painting with this information next to it. And then this painting with the name, title, dimension, and price point next to it, so that I can flip through very easily and be able to propose. Because when we're proposing, we propose multiple looks, especially when we have a client who's buying. We're proposing multiple looks that fit a space and fit a budget. And so it's very practical. And if I can't get a sense of how many works you have in your inventory, like, have you only made this piece?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you have like 10 off the bat that we could do a show?
Yeah.
Like, what does your practice actually look like?
Yeah, what does it encompass? Like,
Yeah.
how deep is your work?
Can I see a streamline?
Yeah.
And I need to know how big they are logistically for fitting into any type of space, whether I want to create, potentially create a show. I need to see it there. And a lot of artists don't know that, and they don't have the administrative skill set to make that. And it's super simple. There's no one format. It's
just put it in a online document.
Yeah, I mean, it's an inventory the same way if you had a clothing line, you'd know how many large T-shirts you're printing versus extra large in red versus white.
So saying just to look at your Instagram is not enough. It has to be some sort of dedicated thing.
No, because if I'm scrolling through your Instagram, I don't know if you've sold that work already. So now I need to do all of this work to like see what's sold, or like how big is that, or you don't say the price point. So now I still don't know if it's in the right range of my client. So now I have to ask you all of these questions.
So the catalog is this like detailed thing about each work that you've created, I guess, ever, or just what you're showing. And it's like, that way you kind of get more of a grasp of like, you can see how they're thinking, how they've developed. You can see how they're arranged. You can see their price points and stuff like that.
Think about it like this, right? I come in here and I want to see this show. There's a panel up there that says solo exhibition by the name of the artist with a statement about this work of art, right? And then there's every piece up I can see clearly that has a label with its title, mixed media, collage, and acrylic paint on canvas. So I'm like, okay, this might not need to be framed because it's on canvas.
Yeah.
36 by 48 inches, and it's $1,200. That gives me all the information I need to know. So if I have a PDF where I see that description and I can read quickly, okay, what is this actually about, right? How can I even help this artist go deeper if we're curating a show? Or how can I plop one of these into my client proposals if I'm going to sell them? I need to know, how to present it.
I see what you're saying.
So if I can see on a PDF as clearly as the user experience is in here is what I need.
It's almost like a pitch deck, but for like your own stuff as an artist. Like it's almost like it's not. It's a resume, but it's not. But it's that official document that if someone's like, "Yo, Marta, how do I get in?" and like they're actually not just trying to take you for what you're worth. Like, oh yeah, send me your catalog.
Yeah, what?
What are you doing?
Like, oh, I've got an Instagram. It's like, dude, I'm not going to spend all day picking through your Instagram. Like, I don't have time for that. But if I have your catalog, then I can understand within 5 seconds exactly
makes so much sense
what you've got, and I will keep it in mind much easier than remembering something that I might or might not have saved in Instagram months ago that I need to scroll and find. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look at my exhibition. It's like a few months if you scroll down. It's just scroll like a few pages. You'll find it.
Yeah, I can't.
It's like, you don't want to give anyone more work. What's like another big thing that they always ask you?
I think another big thing is, not that they ask me, but that I see is I think that a lot of artists pick one artist that they really like and they try to make work that like looks like their style.
Wait, can I call someone out on that point? Everyone who copies Basquiat, stop it. Stop it. I need you all to stop it because everyone sees it, okay? Stop it. All right.
I love Basquiat.
I love Basquiat too, but I see
dope.
it imitated so much and it bothers me to no end.
Yeah, I think that I have seen a very clear difference between the amateur artist and the scholar artist. And the difference is that the scholar knows, I think I said earlier, my genealogical tree. I'm very aware of the history that comes before me as an artist. I'm aware, and it doesn't mean I need to know everything, and it doesn't mean because I have a background as an art historian, although that very much helps. I don't draw my own lineage all the way back to the 1500s.
Yeah.
But the artists who inspire me conceptually and stylistically, I have studied, and I'm constantly trying to understand why I'm attracted to them.
Wow.
And why I want to reproduce an energy that is either in conversation with them or parallel to them in some way. And I feel that the amateur artist only sees one thing and wants to make it their own, versus someone who can identify multiple points in their experience where they actively pull from inspiration and remix.
I see.
And there's a difference there, whether you are remixing or you are copying. Because we all copy ideas. We're all inspired by multiple channels. But how do you pull those channels in and make sense of them and then add your own spin on it versus seeing this, so this artist, seems to be doing really well. I want to show an Homme and I really like this. So let me go ahead and just use a different terrorist and maybe do it a little bit differently, but I'm going to kind of do the same thing. And I see that a lot.
Oh.
And so I encourage those artists, okay, clearly this artist inspired something in you, but you've got to get deeper.
So is it that you shouldn't be so influenced by who you look up to? Or is it also that artists should have some knowledge of the people before them?
I think it's a mix. I think it's a very steady balance of, they say, for example, if I was only inspired by Picasso and I only made work that looked like Picasso, then I'm a contemporary Picasso copyist.
Oh, wow.
Now, I can be a really good contemporary Picasso copyist.
Yeah.
I could go to the National Gallery every day and register as a copyist and sit up there and make Picasso works that are mine for the rest of my life studying Picasso.
Wow.
That's a cool thing. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
But my voice is totally through the voice and style of Picasso, not myself. I think that when you are looking to find your own voice, you should be focusing on your voice and not the style that comes out of it.
Like the depth of the inspiration.
Like, what is your message versus what your work looks like? And I see a lot of artists try to control how their work looks in comparison to what they like that they want to make something similar to, rather than being fully true to themselves and thinking about, well, what am I communicating? And how well do I know my materials and the people who communicated before me that I'm inspired by, to take all of that information and become an actual vessel and channel that can enter conversation. And that's, I mean, if you think about the history of art, they're all stories. And so that's starting to give something to talk about.
You're saying that all the major pieces in history of art, they all tend to be based off stories, or?
Well, like, we are studying and we are breaking down these stories of those artists because they have a lot conceptually to talk about. And if I'm just interested in what this artist made and to make something similar, there's not that much of a story in there.
Oh, so you're saying it's like you want to have a unique voice, like you want to have a unique style.
You have to have your voice. It's just like developing any other brand, is the voice.
I think in a lot of ways, a lot of that does start from copying someone or being heavily inspired by someone.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. But I guess what I'm saying is expand how many people and really create this like multiple ingredient, not too many, but, you know, really interesting remix that's yours because you're a product of these few cards that you have in your hand, plus your own experiences that you bring and meet to the table.
Yeah, it's the experiences that are always unique what make it interesting. Like someone could copy your exact story, but it's the unique experiences you had along the way is what made it so important.
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
and just even using Basquiat as an example, like if you look at his work, he was clearly inspired by a lot of big painters and a lot of different sources. Like you can identify so many points in his work. It's like, oh, this was his interpretation of the Mona Lisa. This was that. This was his Monet interpretation. Like
Right.
he knew a lot, surprisingly, about art. Like he was
Yeah.
very deep in that knowledge.
Yeah.
I know. I just thought that was really interesting. Like now, looking at all these documentaries of him, and people will start to like break down and they'll compare the pictures, and you're just like, whoa! Like this guy he wasn't just some willy nilly like artist. He knew his shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of value in that.
I think so too. I think that I think it's a little naive to expect that people will want to talk about you and tell stories about you if you don't really understand who your ancestors are and where you need to know where the contemporary current is and why it's there to exist in it in a way. You know, and even Basquiat, as a great example, knew that. He was very aware of that. And because of that, he was able to have a voice to speak about that.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, I think that you need to have a mix of knowledge. I think that your work can only go deeper if you study your teachers. And so if you're inspired by someone, I would utilize that opportunity for curiosity. That's all.
One of my favorite quotes is by Picasso. And it's bad artists copy, great artists steal.
Yeah.
I love that.
But that's the thing is it's so similar to that is why would I sit up here and copy verbatim Picasso when I could steal an element from him?
Exactly.
And steal an element from Basquiat and understand and be able to articulate why I'm stealing this from Picasso and not the next thing from Picasso and why I'm stealing this from Basquiat. And I'm starting to then, I'm in control of my narrative, right? That's very different than, oh, well, like Picasso seemed to do really great things and I like that. So I'm going to do the same thing too.
Oh,
It's not a very good story.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, I love the way he would paint his red hues in the corners.
Right.
So I stole that from him. And then I love
Right.
the way, yeah, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah, that makes so much sense.
And then
especially,
you start to remix.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific artist that is like your all time? Even if it's always changing, like, is there one like right now that you're like? that's like my favorite.
I have a few. I mean, Anthony Tapias is a big all-time for me, but lately I have watched over and over again. Well, actually, Basquiat, funnily enough, has come back into my life.
Oh wow!
But I'm really big into Robert Motherwell right now. He does a lot of large paintings. There's one in the National Gallery of Art. They're white and black, and they're very monochromatic and big and meditative. I can send you a photo.
Yeah.
But Louise Bourgeois, I'm not good at French, but I'm pretty sure it's Bourgeois. Or Bourgeois. You know,
whatever.
French is, but she's the artist who did all of those big spider sculptures. There's one outside of the Guggenheim in Bilbao. Oh, there's one in the Sculpture Garden in the National Gallery of Art.
Is it blue? It's like a red or blue, right? It's one that's like a big steel spider.
I don't think it's a color.
Okay, never mind that. I don't know.
It's just like a big ass spider.
Why do you like her spider so much?
Actually, I don't really like the spiders. I like her. There's an awesome documentary called The Mistress, the Spider, and the Tangerine, or The Spider, the Mistress, and the Tangerine. Those three in some kind of combination. And she's so unapologetic about her process and making art just to make art. And I find a lot of permission in watching her give herself permission.
Wow.
And I think as a female artist, it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's really dope. I wish I could think of something off the top of my head, but she just
I get what you're saying. It's like just her as a person, like you're just inspired by it all. It's like that's exactly what I was asking. It's like
she's just
these
like
people who you're just fascinated by.
Yeah, and she just claims so much presence. And I think it's funny, even in this interview, like you've asked me a few questions where I have given you a logistical answer, and then I kind of say, but my heart knew something else, when I went to Italy, when I went to Spain, when I left the National Gallery. Like there's always this pulse in you that's telling you actually what your purpose is and what you're supposed to be doing. And I think it's really scary in a societal world that, is saying regular jobs and retirement plans and get married and, do all of these right things.
Yeah.
There's only one way to kind of come out and say, well, I don't want to do any of those things. And I actually don't value a lot of those things in my day-to-day existence, right? Like I just would prefer to curate a different lifestyle. And I think that, for a woman to be expressionistic and like fully in her feelings, society's still not ready for that. We're warming up to it, but still not ready for that. We don't really like to see a radical woman in her rapture.
What do you mean? What do you mean like a woman fully expressing herself?
Like I think fully in power. And just doing what she fully wants to do.
Like whatever that might be, whether it's like a picture of yourself, that's like covering your nipple on Instagram or whatever it might be.
Just whatever it might be.
Just feeling empowered and like not needing permission to do that.
To do anything. Yeah. I think that I've definitely shied away from certain immediate impulses to just be an artist or to just, share this poem, or even like, a lot of my painting practice, I would never even, like film. My friend pushed me this summer to just set up your phone and like film yourself as you're painting.
Yeah.
And it was so uncomfortable for me because we've been trained to, not be so vain, right?
Oh, I guess you can see it like that.
So weird to me.
Yeah.
To utilize these tools to be like, look at me, look at what I'm making and it fucking matters,
That-
right?
That is a weird transition.
It's
like you
not
have to
an
make.
impulse
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
And so when I see this woman who's like, no, damn it, like it matters, it's like, wow. I mean, what permission?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm addicted
Like, do it.
to
Who
it.
cares what people think? If you want to film yourself creating this piece, do it, because if doing it in silence is great, but if that little bit helps you, it's like, then do it, because it's important to.
Oh my God.
It's so important to put yourself out there, not just be in a basement painting and not telling people about it.
Wholeheartedly out there,
Yeah.
you know, with no second guessing. And I've got to say, it's like every time I do it, it's really liberating, and I get this like taste. So I did this series of, a friend artist of mine, Annie Broderick, who is so cool, soulmate in so many ways. I told her, I was like, I have this idea for a series where I want to do a meditation per chakra. Do you know chakras?
You're gonna have to explain this to me.
Energy points along your spine.
There's 13.
There are different theories. There are 7 main ones.
Okay, then I clearly know nothing.
So, wanted to do one for each of the 7.
Oh.
After a transformative summer for myself, I picked a song per chakra. And so she came into my studio with me, and we did a meditation for each chakra. And then I put on the song that for me fit that chakra. So each chakra, like, you know, there's your heart, your throat, that's your communication, your third eye, your intuition. So they're different themes. A song that kind of connected for me for each one. The idea is that you're fully yourself when you're aligned in all of those. And I filmed each one, and I've been slowly releasing them. And that is so vulnerable for me, because it's not really about the works I made. It was about giving myself the moment of like pure alignment and then expression. And you know, that's something I would have always kept.
So you would do this session for that one chakra, and then after that session, you would start creating. And put on whatever music you felt was that you were feeling at that point.
I already had my playlist, and I already had the meditations lined up. And so we started at the root and we worked up.
Wow.
And so we did a root chakra meditation, and then I put on my root chakra song, and in the duration of that song was when we could create.
Oh, only in the duration of that song.
Finished.
Whoa.
Paint down.
That's crazy.
And then moved the piece, got another piece out. Okay, next chakra.
I see. So you kind of did it all together?
10 hours. Wow. It was crazy.
So you were painting to reggaeton songs for like 10 hours.
Only one song was a reggaeton song. But yeah, I mean, but I guess that for me is a really good example, because that's something I would have never shared. I would have shared maybe like a progress pic, you know, sitting over a piece, and then I would have maybe shared the final, maybe not. And to share the process in its raw state, whatever comes out of it, doesn't matter what it comes out. You know, it doesn't matter what the product is. We are recording now the value of the practice.
Well, the process seems almost more important. Like hearing the run up makes you value the pieces more, because if you just put that piece up right here, I'd be like, okay, but if I hear that beautiful story, you're like, oh, whoa, like this. And then maybe you even like heard the song while you're looking at it.
And then like, why that song? And then, you know, there's just so much more story to it. But now I'm addicted to it, because it's like
showing the process now?
Yeah, because I've let it go, and I just don't even care. I haven't even looked at some of the videos.
It's like documenting.
It's just like, okay, it's done, and it's just out there. And I think that that's really cool.
I think it's so cool. I think it's important to document your process as an artist. I know so many artists. I tell them like all the time, like, guys, I'm like, please just set up a camera and put it on YouTube. You never know what can happen. Just do it, because you just don't know where it can happen. You don't know who can inspire you. You don't know anything about the effects of it afterwards.
Yeah. And also, I don't know. I think that there's something important about archiving the moment and the energy. And for me, I feel like my material is myself and my energy way more than a paint I buy or mix. You know, that's just one ingredient. And so how do you capture all of the materials? I don't know. That's something that I'm using my archiving skill set to archive my life somehow.
No, I think that's so cool, and I think it's so important for any artist to do that, because it's I love seeing the process sometimes more than the final painting.
Agreed.
Like,
and I like my process sometimes more than the final painting.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about the process of like how he got all of this money and all this like weird
that's
overseas
the story.
money, and like and I met him and he was telling me about it, and I was like, you know what, I appreciate this photo much more after hearing about your process than if I just ever looked at it and just walked by it.
Well, and that's always going to be the case. Always. And those are the layers that I think we need to constantly pull back. And on the artist side, those are the layers that we need to keep diving into. And it's from that, personally, from that opening that other ideas keep fleshing in. And so it's kind of like this continuous, so I'm reading this book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. And she talks about you're kind of this archaeologist of your life, and you're like digging for all of these bones and like collecting all of these patterns, kind of like we talked about before, like the bone, like the, what did I say? I said it so poetically before.
Collecting the bones,
like
digging up the bones of your
yeah, like just your gut instinct decisions. She talks about that too, like how there's a purpose for all of that. And I think that when you walk through those portals as an artist, or even just in your own self-development, you kind of get closer. Kind of feels like you get like, I don't know, like in video games, like when I play like Crash Team Racing and I get like the coins. It's like,
what a reference. I can't believe you use Crash Bandicoot Racing as an adventure MMO
you
reference.
get all these like coins. God. It's awesome.
You could have said Final Fantasy or something like that.
No. I've only played 2 video games in my life.
What's the other one?
Spyro.
You know what? Props on both of those games. Those are both amazing games.
Yeah.
No, but the process. So shifting gears a little bit, what is your opinion or your thoughts on the state of art in DC right now? Like, what do you see? Like, because if I can kind of start it, and when I look at it from my perspective, and I know you have a completely different perspective, I see a lot of artists trying to do events, and a lot of artists really trying to put themselves on and creating events. Whether or not they're great or not is one thing, but the fact that they're trying, I think, is more important than anything. And I feel like I see a lot more just proactiveness in people trying to create experiences for someone to share. But also, you know, I was talking to Ian Ican, and he's over here talking about how space is the most important things for artists and stuff like that. But just like the overall landscape on DC of art, like you've been here for longer than I have, I guess 5+ years. And have you seen it evolve or change in a certain way, or?
I think it's becoming more sophisticated, and I'm very excited to be here. I think that space is growing, which is really important. Just in the last year, we've had a few new art galleries pop up. That's so important. I think in a city where commercial real estate is so fucking expensive, galleries are leaving. And a lot of galleries that used to exist no longer exist. So spaces, including, and I mean, Ian has been a huge advocate in that with what he's doing with Culture House as well.
Yeah.
That pretty much exists to give space to the arts. And I think that developers are becoming, or at least where I have found a niche, more interested to realize that there are stories in their backyard that they can tell, and that are a win-win, especially with so much gentrification, that if they are somewhat the culprits of gentrification, that at the very least, some of their decorative dollars can go to the local creative economy.
It's interesting. Yeah. Like letting them do their pop-up in before the leases are signed, like giving them some space for that temporary amount of time or something.
Yeah. Which I think can also have its dangerous effects because placemaking is not temporary. It should be a longer, if we're really doing it the right way, we should be investing in a much longer amount of time. However, I think that there are steps towards trying. And so, for example, we're working with an amazing developer on a residential project that's a VEC. It's a building that's opening. Actually, I think they opened this week on 8th Street.
Oh, wow.
And they hired me to source all of the art, and everything that I've selected is local artists.
Oh, yeah. I've been seeing that on your stories. I love watching that.
Yeah. And so I think 5 years ago, it would have been harder to pitch that. It would have either been all mass produced art from like fucking China or somewhere.
Or IKEA or some weird
IKEA,
place.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had clients do that before. Well, why don't you just buy these from IKEA? And I'm like, why don't you buy them from IKEA? What do you need me for?
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to take your money, but you're not helping me help anybody I want to help. So what's the point?
Yeah. What's the point of going to me if you're not going to support local or if that's not my mission or whatever it might be?
Right. But I think on an individual art level, I think that not only is there more space, but I think in general, the DIY and the build it yourself community in DC is expanding.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like the sentiment of being in a gallery is changing too. Like maybe it's just my perspective, but I feel like a lot of, especially now, it's you can kind of create your own event or your own pop-up and put on your own shows to the point where you're kind of like, do I really need this gallery to represent me? Do I really need all this stuff?
Very fair question.
Yeah.
I think that we need to also look at the ecosystem of galleries that we have here in DC. We have amazing nonprofits. So Transformer, Hamiltonian, I mean, those are really good places to get in and get a solo show. And I've told artists since day one, especially if they wanted a solo show, or Hillier, for example.
Yeah, they're great.
They only do, I think that they really want to focus on providing an artist with their first solo show ever. It doesn't have to be, but they want some type of space in between. If you've already had a solo show, I think it's something like 3 years before they do a solo for you.
Oh, wow. But I think they deal with a lot of international stuff at the Hillier.
It's like a mix.
Okay.
But definitely, whenever an artist applied to a solo show at Latella, I would say you realize that you might be forfeiting doing this at Hillier when you could do that at Hillier and then come to us. You know, I just want to make sure you know what's on the table.
Is it because Hillier could help you in your career, like in an interesting way? Like, is that the reason for an artist want to be a part of these like nonprofit organizations or galleries? Is because that look for yourself as an established artist is important?
I think it depends what you want.
Yeah.
I
think artists just want to sell their work and get bigger and make money and keep continuing what they want to do, right?
Yeah, but selling your work depends on the audience of each gallery. And sometimes you need a few shows stacked up before you have a value that someone might be, that target audience of yours might be interested in. And so Hillier could help put you on the map. Same with Transformer. These places have amazing followers. I mean, Transformer's been here for something like 17 years.
Wow.
But they also provide a stipend to exhibiting artists
That's
because
huge.
they are a nonprofit. And so it really depends on the artist's goals and their immediate goals versus their like 2 to 3 year exhibiting goals.
That's something that doesn't get talked about much. Is
No.
how much resources there are for artists.
Right. There's a lot. And
Yeah.
they've existed for quite some time. But I think that the issue is that we have a lot of like membership commercial galleries where
That's very
artists
true.
need to pay to participate. And I really do not agree with that model. And I think it's really hard when artists are navigating DC. There are like these few amazing nonprofits who exist to actually give you real opportunity, and not to shit on commercial galleries, because there are some amazing ones here, like Hemp Hill, for example, but they're obviously a higher tier. They're selling works to the National Gallery of Art, for example.
Wow. Jesus.
And some things in between. But we do have, I think artists can easily look and take a peek and go, well, I don't want to pay to be in that if all I'm going to get is a show out of it. I could pay half of that price to do that show at the like rooftop of this cool bar where like more people are going to come. And so I understand that.
Yeah.
And I think that when you have a shortage of institutional support and institutional options to help funnel, then artists will always find their own way.
Is, in a way, are like galleries stuff, is it almost like the record label, how like if it, to look at it like in music terms, like artists, you could grow your fan base on Instagram or whatever it is, and you could probably do a show and it could probably be pretty successful, but by signing to a label, you can get catapulted and get help to get to the next level. Is that kind of where the gallery structure comes in? And
usually, yeah. I mean, that's the point.
Yeah.
The idea is to find a gallery that fits with you, that has the target audience, that is your target audience, so that they can sell work for you and therefore escalate your brand to become supportive long term too. And the idea is to get to a point where they are kind of commissioning you to make sure that you are producing where, it's a risk. When we talk about the representation model, it's as much as a risk on the gallery's side as it is on the artists, because, and this is why we never did representation. We were too young. I mean, maybe one day I would, but if theoretically I'm asking you to sign a contract where I am endorsing you.
Yeah, you put your name on them.
And what if you start creating shit?
Oh, that's so true.
And I've promised you, for the next 3 years, I'm going to give you a solo show a year, and you don't make anything new.
Ooh.
I'm not going to put the same shit up twice.
So it's like, the representation, but the representation seems like further down someone's career. Like that
absolutely.
Seems like when you've are semi-established, you've sold some work and people know you can sell. So it's like a guaranteed bet, I feel like.
I think so too. And that also is a tricky balance, because you don't want to keep making the same mundane stuff from one formula.
True.
But you don't want to take so many risks that you worry your gallerist.
Yeah, I could see as an artist how all of a sudden that gets tricky about creating.
Yeah. So it's a relationship. And the galleries that can, who are asking representation that can truly help with that, are looking for artists that are going to meet them halfway in that partnership, and have already invested so much time and wisdom and money and materials in their career to do the walk with their talk, And I think that here we have, I'm pretty critical of the pay membership gallery.
Yeah, I think it's weird that you have to pay to be a part of something and then you get like one show every few years.
Well, and not only that, usually what's promised is like a solo show and then a few group shows, or, maybe a few shows of, 3 artists from the collective will be in this. And what's, kind of great is that, well, if you have like 20 artists and they're all supportive of one another, then like, you already have a good amount of people at your opening, like it's kind of superficial in that sense, in my opinion. But also, as a curator, I think that it risks, and I have seen and I feel that those galleries aren't well curated, because if I'm the businesswoman and I know I need 5 artists to pay all my bills,
you're going to say yes to whoever you need to.
Well, if I get 20 in my door, then like come the fuck on in, right? Because I'm going to make a lot more money.
Yeah.
But their works might not always complement another member artist's work. And so I think the curator has a harder job to stay loyal to all of those people that are paying them.
Yeah.
But also not pair them with someone who's not going to help their work shine the way it
True.
might need to. And that can be a limited curatorial palette.
I love how we're like not saying names about galleries. We shouldn't, but like
I won't.
Yeah, but if you're from the area, you kind of know. Or I don't want you to. But like,
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I never looked at it in the curation way where you might be next to an artist who will just completely shit on anything you do, and it's like you won't be appreciated.
Or it just mutes it. You know, it could just be very passively muted. And as a curator, I don't ever want to be limited in that sense. I'd prefer to work harder or have to pay extra money or do whatever or put a project on hold for the right space, the right time, where every element is like so dead on, and doing justice to the next piece in space as well.
It's like you're just considering everyone. It's like you're just being considerate.
Well, you're telling that's what curating is, right? You're telling a story that should be potent. I think narratively and physically, visually and energetically, right? So yeah, and as an artist, I don't really want to walk in somewhere and be like, why the fuck is my shit hung like that? You know, like
why is it hung between two people who are like, what?
Don't want to go through that.
What is going on here?
Yeah. So I know that model works for a lot of artists, so I'm not fully critical. It wouldn't exist if it didn't.
Yeah.
But I think that's why a lot of artists are also like, well, where are my opportunities if I can't afford that?
Well,
but I think I want a gallery name, but I don't really know.
Yeah,
right?
like I it's like the gallery is like the stamp of approval. Like, oh, look, I'm in the gallery.
Yeah.
And it's like, but really, what is it doing for you?
What is it
like,
doing for you?
It's like, I don't know. It's like you probably signed your life away for the next 3 years to this gallery, and now you can't be a part of this group exhibition. Now you can't go show at the rooftop of this bar that you curated all your friends and the brand that you've been building on Instagram to activate all your fans and stuff.
It's hard.
And that also, it's like, it's so crazy how the landscape of art has changed with the onset of social media. And people, artists can now create their brands, and also a lot of fake artists can become really big just by being sensational.
Yeah. And not to discredit, obviously I think that we need more galleries in DC, and they're so integral. I just think it's important if you look at if you really look at the models, where their money comes from and how they use it is, this city doesn't have as many options as other cities. And that's why I think artists are going so underground, which also makes our scene very interesting.
Wait, but the galleries make their money off of the artist.
But exactly. Versus like a nonprofit like Transformer, who's paying artists.
I see what you're saying. The business model is different.
Right.
Okay.
And so again, this comes into the artist needing to be an investigator and understand where they play a role in their creative economy and their creative ecosystem.
Yeah, it's like you can no longer be the archetype starving artist anymore.
Oh, it's so unattractive.
Like you can't. It's like maybe it worked for one or two people throughout history, but
usually not.
It's you're gonna die in the basement with all your paintings sit in the corner if you think that you're beyond being a business person or beyond putting on that cap or that you don't need to go and network with someone to meet the right person, or the worst, what I hate to see is I hate to see artists who aren't a part of the artist ecosystem. Yeah. It's like, oh, so you want a gallery, you want a solo show in all these places, but do you support other artists? Like, do you go to their show? Do you hang out on the moon Mondays? I'm sorry, I don't remember, like the moon prayers. Like, do you go?
Yeah, whatever it is. Like, are you... And it's hard to be on the scene all the time.
Of course.
I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that. So many people are like, come to my show. I'm like, I'm going to be there.
But you're a busy woman. You're coming from a different position than the artist who's like, I hope I can sell this painting. It's different.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot that goes into it. And I think the moral of the story is that it doesn't happen overnight, right?
Patience. Yeah.
And so being patient and kind of investing, really, I think that so much is getting to know yourself, though, because when you know yourself and what your work is about, you attract artists who have similar conversations, and then all of a sudden that pack has more potency when they're communicating messages together. and you find galleries and other spaces that want to help you with those narratives.
I see what you're
Right?
saying.
So it's all so connected.
Huh. Like a defined, like know yourself. Like at the end of the day, it's know yourself. Figure
It
out
is.
who you are.
It is. I mean, because that if your work is
though?
from you, I mean, that for me, it's meditation. I think for a lot of people, it could be different things, and that's part of the work.
So is mushrooms good?
Figure that
Is that
out.
a good one?
You know, mushrooms are pretty cool.
Yeah, they are. Especially if you do art. Dude, I did a photo shoot the other day, and this guy, I don't know why we were talking about mushrooms, but we were, and he was like, I did a little bit of mushrooms. He's like, it felt amazing. But he was like, so the next night I thought I would just do the rest of the bag. Turns out I ate like 6 grams of mushrooms and I'm by myself in my basement. He's like, I've never freaked out harder. And I don't know, just the story just came to my mind. And I just remember him telling me this. I'm like, dude, that sounds like hell.
That
Like,
sounds terrible.
Being in your basement with your family upstairs and you're just tripping. I'm like, dude.
That sounds awful.
Yeah, that sounds awful. But know yourself, find yourself, whatever you think it might be. Like at the end of the day, it's like that's what it has to be. You have to have something to say.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of work.
Yeah,
And I think being patient to go through that is important.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. So what's up? What's next with you? Like what are you working on? What are you excited for in 2020? You or everything like?
Yeah. For me personally, I have a lot of work that I'm digging through. I've like, I think with this boom of like Latella finally having its rhythm and me like coming out of the closet, like I'm going to be this unapologetic woman that I've always like hid.
You're badass.
Yeah, like I've actually feel passionately in love with my life every day.
That's beautiful.
And I feel a lot of validation because I knew I wanted to cultivate that feeling when I took all of those practical steps. And I stayed connected to that hope when times were tough. And now I'm in it. And so I think that that's opened a lot of energy for ideas, and I just have more space to compute mentally and emotionally and physically. And so I'm taking all of these lessons I've learned in business, but also this archive of just ideas that I've stocked up and kind of put to the side as an artist when I was building Latella.
Oh, okay.
And they are fucking like flooding it right now.
Oh, like now you're starting to work on all of them.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Nice.
And I have the energy for it, and I have the materials and the space, and I'm still like, am I Latella today or am I Marta today?
Yeah.
But like there's a nice balance. So I'm finishing, I'm like in between like 10 personal projects at once right now. And I'm hoping that I can finish them soon to document them and actually start applying to my own shows.
That's cool.
Because I've done so many shows for other people and kind of have kept my practice on the side.
So you can do like a solo show or something?
I'd like to, yeah.
Well, you have your own space. I mean, there's nothing.
I don't want to do it there.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's a little like
That's a little too easy,
my
right?
space. I like see my shit.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
But yeah, plus I have really big work, and so I need a bigger space.
Okay.
And then with Latella, I'm really excited about Avec, and we have a few other projects that are coming out that are going to be like that
Wow.
I think will take a year and a half to actually go through all of the work, but they're going to get started this summer. And yeah, I'm hoping. So we did the Superfine Art Fair.
I saw you. I visited your booth there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was there.
Was I there when you came by? I don't
If you
think
were, I
so.
would have said hi to you. You weren't
Yeah,
there.
I don't think that we met there.
Yeah, no.
That I think was a turning point for Latella because we just did 7 female artists, and that I think has been like this turnkey to bigger narratives I want to tell, and I could see us. I want to start curating larger shows in bigger galleries and in institutions even that follow some of those more feminine narratives that I would like to tell curatorially. So I think I'm going to go there. It's kind of the year of like fewer big projects rather than like the first 3.5 years of Latella, maybe 4 years. It was like we did an exhibition every month.
Oof.
It was like churn.
But why Superfine Art Fair? What? I mean, you said you curated that it was all with female artists, but what about that event specifically really kind of changed it?
We had a team discussion about the fair, and since it is one of the only fairs in DC,
True.
I figured that we should be part of it.
Yeah.
For no other reason, really. And also try out fairs since we're not doing stuff in our space anymore.
Well, I'm saying like, but but you're saying it felt so good because the response to what you did there, like it was just so.
No, I don't think. Well, the response was great, but even before people saw it, when we were getting it together, it was like, okay, this is like a tiny look into something that we could expand.
Are you familiar with Hen House?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know them, but I'm familiar with what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to get them on the show, but yeah, they're like specifically female.
Super. I love it. I love it. And they like do the tiny shows, which are really good. And yeah, all of that. So yeah, I think you keep learning more and more about your niche.
So it's exciting though. But yeah, it seems like you're gearing up for a pretty fun and crazy 2020, not just personally, but also with Latella and everything too.
Yeah, it's exciting.
That's super exciting. Yeah. Well, Marta, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the energy with me. It's been great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, hopefully in like a year or two, or maybe however, have you back on.
Yeah,
you know?
We could do like a recap.
Yeah, honestly, I love doing that because I just did my first like year recap.
Yeah.
My friend Chris Pirate. And so much has changed for him in a year as an artist, and just talking about it and like where he was when he first came on and where he is, it was so cool.
Can you make me a promise?
What's that?
That we need to like keep a tabs on what Gestafelstein is wearing when we do this recap.
Okay, well, how about this promise? How about this? If Gestafelstein comes through town, we're going. Yes. How about that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll take photos of him our damn selves and see what he's wearing.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Awesome. Well, that's it, guys. That's the angle.
Fun.
Peace out. Sweet.
So fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I feel like we could talk for hours.
No, I definitely could. That's the thing. It's like, then it just turns into fun, chaotic, like rambling. It's
yeah.
Great. Since we're sitting here, let me